Hello and welcome back to What I Think I Know with your host, Dan Brigantino. I've got a clip for you here of a gal I think I know is cuckoo.
Just kill ICE agents. You know that? You can just kill them. You don't have to hold your phone in their face and ask people when their birthday is and ask people what their name is and then try to find wherever they end up in Los Angeles. You can kill them. This isn't about social media clout anymore. This isn't about video. This isn't about the phone. This is about get a gun and start killing ICE agents. They are deputized corrections officers. Kill them.
Well, she is right. You can just kill people. That is how cold-blooded murder works. That seems a lot more like a call for violence. How are we not seeing this? I know we're seeing this, but how is the world not seeing this? How is their team not seeing this? It's crazy. And what she's doing right there is essentially she's not saying, I'm going to go do it. She's saying, hey, one of you guys viewing this, you should go do it. You've got to be a little bit crazy just to say something like that. And then, of course, she does have a little bit of sanity left that prevents her from actually doing it. Now she's going to wait for one of her even crazier followers to do it. Wild. You know what else I think I know? Gavin Newsom's a scumbag. Check this video out.
Do you think that your party went too far or that you went too far? And I think, for instance, in extending Medi-Cal to the California healthcare program to undocumented immigrants. Like, do you...
Well, two different
I guess
questions.
on the big picture and the small picture, do you feel like you went too far?
Two different questions. Do I believe in universal health care? Yes, regardless of pre-existing conditions, ability to pay, and your status. I campaigned on that, and we delivered on that. And I'm proud of that. We're one of 16 states to provide care to people regardless of their immigration status. By the way, we have universal care in emergency rooms, and you pay the price on the back end, at least Americans, for that, regardless of your immigration status.
Did you hear that right at the end there? You pick up the bill on the back end, at least Americans. First off, we started with no, illegal aliens aren't getting free health care and all that stuff. They're not getting assistance. No. And now you're saying, well, that's happening. Absolutely. In fact, I'm totally for it. I started it. I pushed it. But we'll still make Americans pay. No problem. Imagine if these people weren't here. How much more money would there be for all of us? We might be able to afford universal health care if all these other illegals weren't here soaking it all up. Our poverty line, the line of protection, because in this state at least, I don't know about other states, but a nonprofit hospital, if you're below the poverty line, you can get your bill erased. But that poverty line is like $35,000 a year and under, which is super low, incredibly low. Everybody knows California, you can't live here with $35,000. Not going to happen. But imagine if these, conservatively 40 million people were not in our country. First off, the housing market, okay, well, 40 million homes just opened up. We can now rent out 40 million more rooms, which means rent all over the country drops. Purchasing houses, maybe illegals for purchasing houses, maybe they're renting them. Maybe the person who rents them out now sees a lower value in renting, so they want to sell. Now a young person could buy a home. Beautiful. And then, of course, this medical crap. 40 million people just go into the hospital for free. That's ridiculous. 40 million Americans could have universal health care, and by that I would mean the really low-income people. There's still a lot to fix in that system, but we could definitely raise the low-income bar if we weren't giving free shit away to all these millions of people. To get to national and some local news, actually, we've had tons of attacks recently, tons of violence. Here is, before we get into that, a video of a silverback gorilla. Enjoy.
Started after a 70-year-old woman riding a bus asked another rider to give her some space after she kept bumping into her. Surveillance cameras capturing the attack on camera. Now, according to the Broward County Sheriff's Office, it happened when a 70-year-old woman took a seat in the ADA section of a Broward County Transit bus back on October 21st. Now, the alleged attacker was standing on the bus and kept bumping into the victim because of the bus's motion. The victim asked the attacker to give her some space, and then they started exchanging some words. It escalated, and then the attacker pushed her body into the victim several times. She then actually grabbed a grocery bag and hit that 70-year-old in the face, trying to defend herself with her cane. The attacker then punched the 70-year-old many times in the head. The bus driver eventually noticed what was happening and stopped the bus in the 4100 block of West Oakland Park Boulevard in Lauderdale Lakes. Now, that 70-year-old woman did suffer some bruising, but she is set to be okay. Now, take a good look at your camera or your screen. That is who police were looking for, that alleged attacker. If you saw her or you were in the area October 21st, you know something, please say something. Contact Broward Crime Stoppers at 954-493-TIPS.
You can see in that video she's like sitting on the old lady and just harassing her in just about every way you can imagine, and then gets up and starts wailing on her. Beautiful. That's what humanity is supposed to be like. Liberals, you're not doing so hot, I tell you. There's no way that lady was a Republican. The 70-year-old lady sitting on the chair might be, but not the lady beating on her. In the comments, let me know what you think her jail time should be for that. I'm very interested in what everybody thinks. Personally, I believe it would be, I don't know, minimum 10 years in prison, something like that. You can't beat up an old lady. That's just unacceptable. Women and children are our only true protected class. Anything else they say is a protected class is bullshit. Don't give a shit about any of them. Women and children are a protected class. This woman who's beating on the old lady is, by assaulting her, writing off her protected class status. She is no longer considered a woman in my eyes. She is an animal. Just like any other killer, just like this fella in my local area. I've got two local stories here. A fella recently from San Jose, ways north of me, stole a car, drove down to Hollister, stole another car, drove back to San Jose, all while being chased by the police, stole another car up in San Jose, shot an officer, and not just at an officer, shot an officer, and then was put down appropriately. Some people would say it wasn't appropriate because a cop hit him with the squad car. Sorry. Shouldn't have done literally anything you did that day. Should have done everything differently, and you would have been still alive with us now. Maybe not even in jail. If you didn't steal the first car, you would have not been in jail at all. That's just a real quick update on fun stuff. It can't show the video, I don't think, so look it up. It's not that bad, but anyway. It was very interesting how quiet the left was on this one, because you could see from every single angle that it was totally warranted and perfectly fine. No issues. Then we had, even closer to home to me, Marina, California. We had an officer, and I'll just do a quick run through. I'm not going to show the whole 10 minutes of body cam footage. Again, you can look it up. It's very easy to find. The news outlet KSBW8 posted pretty much all of it. But essentially, the way it went was a cop saw a van coming the opposite direction. It had no front license plate, and in this state, that's not okay. You're supposed to have both license plates. Fine, whatever. I've actually been ticketed for that before. But anyway, I put a front plate on, and now I've never had an issue. So anyway, the cop sees no license plate on a van, gets behind the van. I think he ran a stop sign. If I might be mistaken on that, but I'm pretty sure he ran a stop sign as well, right when kind of the cop noticed him. But anyway, comes up behind the van, pulls him over, checks registration and all that, expired, whatever, approaches the vehicle, talks to the guy, he's being super nice. Hey man, how's it going? Good to see you, all right. Notices the guy is on his phone calling somebody and just is curious because this officer knows that he has a restraining order that was just filed about a month prior against a woman that he assaulted. Again, protected class. Don't touch the women. So the officer double checks kind of thing, hey, who are you calling? I just need to make sure it's not the person your restraining order is for. Says, it's my mom. Okay, no problem. Unfortunately, your tags are expired, and I have to ask you to get out of the vehicle. The officer in this case here actually arrested this same guy about a year ago for a felony arms thing. I think he was buying ammo, and he's a prohibited person. He's already got a felony. He's not supposed to have firearms. So, and they already know he's affiliated with the Crips. He's got a long rap sheet. He's not an innocent fella. So anyway, they have to impound the car because you can't be driving a car on the road without registration. So he asks the guy to step out. The guy says no, asks him like 5 times, keeps saying no. So eventually, after saying, hey, if you don't comply, I've got to pull you out myself. After saying that several times, he goes in, unlocks the door, tries to pull the guy out. The guy kind of like leans into the passenger seat and throws it in gear, takes off driving with the cop inside the car with him. The fella had a revolver wrapped up in a towel. It's kind of comical how gangsters can think they're super cool while they're holding like a 1970s revolver. Very funny. Like clearly it was somebody's grandfather who died and left the pistol behind. And these gangsters pick him up and think they're hot shit. But anyway, so he's in the passenger seat, feet where the pedals would go. The cops in the driver's seat, basically, kind of wrestling with him in the passenger seat. He's reaching down, trying to grab his pistol. The cop sees it. They end up kind of crashing into an embankment, slow speed, but crashing into an embankment. The officer's partner catches up to them. They both fire one shot from 2 different angles. I believe the officer outside. No, that's not right. The cop wrestling with him he is the one that hits him. And one shot, he bleeds out really quick and he's no longer. I want to talk about how the news told us all about this incident. And I'll just show you the video actually. KSBW Action News 8, our local news.
Today has been very overwhelming. I lost my firstborn son. I lost one of the legacies of my family.
Valencia Richardson confirming that her son, Ronald Tinsley, was shot and killed by Marina police on Sunday. There is limited information on what happened. According to police, the shooting occurred just before 5 in the evening after officers pulled Tinsley over for a traffic stop on Marina Heights Drive. Richardson says she got the call that her son was dead around 1 in the morning, 5 hours after police confirmed to KSBW that there had been a fatality.
I asked them, police officers, what if that was your child? Could you imagine what I'm going through right now, the not knowing? And I just feel like they just stole moments from me yesterday. And they also stole my son. He didn't deserve to be shot.
Tinsley was a well-known member of the Seaside community and a local rapper. The case has been handed over to the district attorney's office, who is leading the investigation and will likely be reviewing body cam footage. Police say the officers involved have all been put on administrative leave and are separated. At this time, Marina police could not confirm how many officers fired shots. And with so much unknown about what happened Sunday night, Richardson is demanding answers.
I'm asking for the community support. I'm asking for any and everyone who can support my family and myself. with this situation. We want to get to the bottom of it, and we want complete transparency.
And it's something that seems to happen with every shooting. I think I showed a video of there was a pregnant lady with her kid in the car, and she was chasing down ICE, and the news interviewed her afterward, and she's like, "I got my babies in the car. Oh, they can't do this to me." Anyway, they stole moments from me. They stole my son. No. Your son stole those moments from you when he decided not to cooperate and instead join gangs and do gang stuff. A pinnacle in the community, I can't remember the word they said. Never heard of the guy. I did, however, go back and listen to some of his rap music, and it was all gang-related, drugs, shooting people, killing cops, all that sort of stuff. The usual, if you will. Very, very sad that this lady can't understand that it was probably her parenting that caused all this. She is as much to blame as he is, almost. Not entirely, perhaps. He could have, like I said, complied. You go spend the night in jail. I've said this so many times in the last, every episode for the last 5 episodes. Comply, spend the night in jail. You get out the next day. You go get your car out of impound. Everything's fine. Everybody's happy. You might have to post bail because you had an unregistered and loaded firearm without a concealed carry license. Okay, fine. Pay bail, get out. It's easy. It's super, super easy. But no, he didn't want to get in trouble for anything. He basically said either no punishment or death. That's all I'm accepting. That was what he decided when he decided to take off on the police. I think everybody should know, especially in a, what was that, like a 1999 Ford Econoline? You're not going to get away from the police in that van. First off, it's one of the most obvious cars on the road, bright blue, and the only person driving that model and year anymore. So you're not going to hide, that's for darn sure. But also, the police have cars that are just a little bit faster than that. Might have worked back when we were, well, even the Crown Vics would have held up fine. But anyway, just ridiculous. Here's another little clip of the city council meeting, just I think it was 2 nights after the shooting. Still no information had been released, but of course, us people with brains already basically knew what happened. Apparently, nobody in this video could ever imagine that a person who was already a felon, associated with the Crips, probably selling drugs out of the house and whatnot, and that, I don't know if that was in the video I showed or another video that I've seen that I didn't show, but the reason that the cops were a little extra vigilant in the area that he got pulled over is because they got word that there were 2 houses that were selling drugs out of the house. Anyway, who would have known that a person who deals drugs or whatever, doesn't even matter about the drugs, but definitely is associated with the Crips, who would think that this person would do that? I don't know. Check this out. These people don't know either.
It was a packed house inside Marina City Council chambers Tuesday night.
Back. Don't tell me to calm down.
Mixed emotions from community members sharing their thoughts on Sunday night's police shooting and the killing of 31-year-old Ronald Chiron Tinsley II of Seaside.
Were there no other options besides lethal force? Chiron was a black man, a father, a son, a loving friend, a business owner, a staple in our community.
I thought that I was coming here to get some transparency, to find out about what happened, who did what, or whatever. But what's going on is you're trying to find out what's going on with us. You already know what's going on with us.
Mayor Bruce Delgado reiterating that this investigation is out of his hands. And at this point, he can't answer any other questions. But he says the council is here to listen.
We didn't just lose a citizen. You guys also should look at that as you lost somebody in your community as well.
Right now, tonight, we are the narrators.
And so I'm hoping in this moment for our community to take a deep breath and reset.
So sad, but not sad at all. Fortunately, once all of the factual information came out, they posted another picture that didn't get everybody all riled up and whatnot. Here is that clip. It just goes into a little, factual information. Enjoy.
That's one. Shots fired. Shots fired. It was a traffic stop that led to the shooting death of Ronald Tinsley by a Marina police officer Sunday evening. Tinsley pulled over for a missing front plate and expired tags. The traffic stop turning violent after Tinsley refuses officers' commands to get out of his van.
And in fact, you're required to get out of a car. It's not just that he can ask. You are required to get out of a car if the officer asks you to do that.
Stop, dude, stop, sir. Stop the car. Instead, the Seaside resident and rapper drives off with Marina officer Shivdev Dillon, who had reached in to try to turn off the ignition. 100 yards away, the van comes to a rest and the struggle continues.
He then starts screaming.
This is the gun police say they recovered from Tinsley's van, a loaded revolver. Tinsley was shot in the back shoulder blade, pronounced dead at the scene. Another officer, Brody Severs, discharged his weapon once, but the round did not hit Tinsley. But Tinsley also had a history with Officer Dillon, who arrested him last year for illegal possession of ammunition. Tinsley also had a violent history.
He knew that Tinsley had committed a felony domestic violence case. He knew that Tinsley was a Crip associate. He knew that from a tip he'd received 2 days before that drugs were being dealt from 2 houses in that neighborhood.
There you go. Basically everything you need to know about the situation wrapped up in, a minute? Very easy. Now, this is why I don't see something happen and immediately hit the internet and do an episode. I'll never do that because the full breadth of information has not been released or even found at this point. Not at this point. Now we know everything, but at the point from the first 2 videos I showed you, we know nothing. We know absolutely nothing. Yeah, it could have perhaps been the police that went, hey, look, a brown person, let's go shoot him. It's possible when you post at this moment. It's totally possible. But unlikely, not just because it's just unlikely that police officers are going around going, oh, let's find a brown person and shoot him. But also because the spotlight is on police officers. Anybody in uniform right now is kind of in danger of, the George Floyd style riots. If you do one little thing wrong, even though the guy ate a dose of drugs that was enough to kill 20 people and then died from it, not under the knee of an officer, but somewhere else in the backseat of the car, wherever he was. I can't remember, but I know he wasn't being knelt on when he died. Anyway, getting a little off track there. But the spotlight is directly on them. One little thing wrong, and we've got another George Floyd. Fortunately, that hasn't happened, especially after another shooting in Minneapolis. And one last thing before we move on to the next shooting, about KSBW's kind of wayward, who do we support kind of thing. I don't know. Here's a picture of remember the 5-year-old child that was detained by ICE? Here's what they showed about that child. Judge temporarily halts deportation of Minnesota 5-year-old, father detained at Texas ICE facility. It's so frustrating. This 5-year-old was abandoned by his father. The ICE officers, whatever, I can't remember, I'm pretty sure he was in his car. They pull him over, and he takes off running. and leaves his little baby, his little 5-year-old kid, in the ice cold weather to freeze to death, I guess. I don't know what he was expecting that kid to do. He could have, if ice ignored the child could have wandered off into a back alley and ended up freezing to death, like I said. Instead, the officers took charge, said, "Here, come here, little buddy. We'll take care of you. We'll keep you warm." They took him out to McDonald's, got him some food. Every kid loves McDonald's. I'm sorry, no matter what you think. I could see liberals already saying things like, "Oh, McDonald's, you took him to the cheapest, shittiest food out there." First off, it's not the cheapest food out there. There's far more cheaper options than McDonald's nowadays. But anyway, regardless of how good McDonald's truly is, every kid loves McDonald's. So the officers took him there. They treated him to whatever he wanted to eat. And then the father, who abandoned his child, said, No, I don't want other people taking care of my kid. There's a lady down at this street. She'll take care of him. The officers brought him to that lady, and the lady said, "I ain't taking care of that kid. You kidding me? Get him out of here." So then the father said, "Well, I'll hang out with him here in the ICE facility. Bring him to the ICE facility." Now, I don't know why ICE would have halted their deportation. I would assume that the father's deportation was halted, not the child's deportation, because the father elected to have his kid deported with him. I believe the father's trying to sue the DHS, so that might have something to do with the halt on deportation. But again, the child is not involved in hardly any of this. The father wanted to first abandon the child, then have the child with him in the ICE facility, and now that the father's not getting deported as quickly, well, we can say, okay, ICE prevented that or whatever, slowed that, stopped it, halted, whatever you want to say. But anyway, that's news. That's why we say fake news. Because you could just say, father that abandoned 5-year-old child is now being delayed deportation. There you go. That's a more accurate title for you. A man killed by ICE. Here is a picture that was aired by MSNBC. The one on the right is the picture that they aired. The one on the left is the real picture. A little skinny, gaunt, not a very attractive fella. Skinny, so he looks like a liberal. Looks very weak. Not what I would call a man, perhaps. And then the one on the right, you could see like they broadened his chin, gave him a little squared chin, and put some color into his face because he's real pale and sickly looking in the one on the left. So it gave him a little color, beefed him up a little bit, makes him look like a handsome man. So all the ladies in their 40s on the left who are taking to the streets and getting angry at everybody can go, "Oh, look, he was so handsome. They took such a beautiful person from us." Tell me, this is an unrelated video. Tell me if this fella that's grabbing these women looks like a handsome, generous man. So you notice that, right? The fella grabs the one lady and puts her in a headlock. Okay, and then there's another lady standing there, an ICE officer comes and shoves her. So then he throws the lady he's got in a headlock to the side and dives on top of the other lady. And then as the ICE officer's pulling the dude off of her, he takes her with him. I don't know what the hell's wrong with this guy. If he's trying to fight ICE, maybe he was a Republican. It's possible he's going, "Hey, shut up, woman, you stupid woman." Like, what in God's name did he think he was doing? By grabbing these women, putting them in headlocks, shoving them around. It's crazy. So then scuffle ensues. And now I'll show you a video, and I've got some like slowed down footage and stuff like that. It's very important that we nail down exactly what happened in this situation. And exactly what happened is this. The fella had a gun on his hip, okay? He's like wrestling these women, and so the ICE officers come over and stop him from doing that. When an law enforcement officer comes up to you and grabs you and forces you to do something, comply. That's the best case scenario. Go, okay, I'm sorry, put your hands up. I'm sorry, I'm done. You know, cuff me. I'm under arrest. I'm sorry, whatever. Simple stuff, you know, hey, I have a firearm on my hip. Please remove it from me. Things like that. He didn't do that. He fought back. He tried to get away from them and all that sort of stuff. An officer, there's like 7 or 8 cops there, or ICE officers. One of the ICE officers, who's already spotted the gun clearly, moves to his hip, removes the gun, and at that same moment, I'm sure he feels that movement on his hip. So he reaches back, probably thinking he's going to grab his gun. Now, it looks like he grabs one of his extra magazines, and behind him, the officer holding the firearm has a negligent discharge. That is, firing a firearm when you didn't want to. Interestingly enough, this is a SIG P320, which is notorious for going off basically on its own. I mean, no firearm will ever really go off on its own. It always has to have some external forces, whether that be like heat, vibration, pressure, anything like that. Some people don't know this. If you get a gun hot enough, the casing in the chamber will actually cook the powder inside the casing, and it'll go off just because the gun's hot. Tips for surviving. Anyway, getting back on track here. So, negligent discharge. The other cops hear it and think this guy's shooting at us because they've just seen him reach back for his gun and pull something out. So they think he's shooting, so they shoot him. It's a very cut and dry situation. Do I wish the guy survived? Hell yes. Absolutely. Nothing in me wants that man to die. Nothing in me wants any man to die, or woman, of course. Doesn't matter what you've done. I don't want harm to befall you. Seems unnecessary to me. Time in prison might reform you. Some people can never be set free, but I don't want you to die. Now, regarding the Pig 3 Sweet, anyway, regarding the SIG P320, I do have a little clip here of just how easy it is to make one of these guns go off when you don't mean to. Now, there is pressure added to the trigger, which is typically the moment where you go, okay, basically it should go off at any second now. Muzzle-loaded target is something hunters train in gun safety. Muzzle, always know where your muzzle is pointed. Trigger, always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire, and always treat every gun as if it's loaded and ready to fire at all times. And target, make sure you understand your target and what's behind it. Don't ever point your gun at something you're not willing to destroy. Fortunately, the officer wasn't pointing that gun in the direction of another person. It was kind of at a bad angle. It was off to the side, but it was pointed at the ground at the very least. But again, this is a negligent discharge. That officer needs to go back to training. I wouldn't be surprised if he does go back to some training. Keep your fingers away from the trigger unless you're ready to fire it. But anyway, here is a short clip about P320s.
Now you take this pocket knife and you kind of, I'm actually using it to depress the trigger all the way to sear engagement, but not quite. Now you see, now you can reach up here and grab the slide, listen for that. You got to get it just so. and the striker goes off. And
so obviously that's proof that it's possible for a reasonably negligent discharge of a SIG P320. Not a good situation at all, but justified. Yeah, definitely. Not okay, but that's what happens when you decide to fight police with a gun on you. What was he expecting to have happen? The ICE officers just to go, "Oh, sir, just can you step away, please?" They've been trying that for so long and nobody listens to them. Okay, we had an ICE officer just the other day who was, there was a hotel, I guess, that maybe the ICE officers were in, but at least the Minnesota people thought they were in, so they went to destroy it. And anyway, an ICE officer stood in the doorway with like 30 people at least, kind of trying to get in. Anyway, people don't listen to lawful orders. I don't know why, but they don't listen. So here's a little bit of video of kind of the whole situation, how everything ended up.
Go. What the fuck is wrong with you? The fuck, people? The fuck is wrong with you? Honestly.
So you see exactly as I described. Cop grabs a gun goes off, everybody starts shooting. Just to kind of prove that the negligent discharge did happen, here's a still frame where you could sort of barely, but you can definitely make out that the slide on the firearm is back. It has fired in that moment. And of course, yeah, if you're an officer of the law, you see a guy with a gun, and very close to the guy with the gun, you hear a gunshot, you're going to think, well, that guy just shot his gun, especially after seeing the guy reach for his firearm. Some things going on. Republicans have been saying, oh, you shouldn't be bringing guns to a protest. That's ridiculous. That's baloney. You definitely can bring a firearm to a protest. In fact, John Adams, one of our founding fathers, a man who did sign the Declaration of Independence, said, and I've got a quote from him here, interesting thing with John Adams, interesting thing with a lot of our founding fathers and whatnot, in the time of the founding, there was a lot of back and forth. So John Adams, in this example, is a lawyer. 19 not 19, this was 1770, right after the Boston Massacre, and he was actually defending the British troops, which is just an interesting dynamic that 6 years later he'd be signing the Declaration of Independence. But anyway, here is a quote from John Adams as he is defending the British who shot a bunch of Americans, or soon-to-be Americans. Here, every private person is authorized to arm himself, and on the strength of his authority, I do not deny the inhabitants had a right to arm themselves at that time for their defense, not offense. This distinction is material and must be attended to. So that's our founding fathers saying, yes, you can bring a gun for self-defense to a protest. Simple stuff there. Also, a quote from Judge Stephen Agee, A-G-E-E, dissenting in the Kipke versus Moore in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. It's another just interesting kind of go for guns sort of thing. Maryland has not come forward with evidence that a founding... Oh, that's right. I forgot. This is about Maryland trying to pass a law, or rather their Court of Appeals deciding on whether or not it's legal to have a firearm at a protest. Maryland has not come forward with evidence that at the founding, states enacted measures prohibiting firearms at public demonstrations. On the contrary, the historical record reflects quite the opposite. As the district court observed, just before the ratification of the Second Amendment, 6 out of 13 original colonies required their citizens to go armed when attending public assemblies. So that's kind of the exact opposite of don't bring a gun to a protest. You're required to bring a gun when you're attending public assemblies. Specifically, in the 150 years before the Second Amendment's enactment, American colonies up and down the Atlantic enacted laws requiring men to bring firearms with them to church and other public gatherings. For example, 1643, Connecticut law cited the possibility of a tax as the basis for each household to bring, and this is the quote, to bring a musket, pistol, or some piece with powder and shot to each meeting. And a 1642 Maryland law forbade able-bodied men from going to church or chapel without a fixed gun and one charge at least of powder and shot. Given that the Second Amendment codified a pre-existing right, such colonies' laws illuminate that our founding fathers would never have commonly understood that the right to permit the government to prohibit carrying firearms at public demonstrations. Pretty cut and dry. Our founding fathers wanted us and said it's necessary for us to bring firearms basically everywhere we go. Very interesting stuff there. I love our founding fathers. They are such freaking genius fellas. It's incredible. And that just about does it for everything we have for this episode, except for our hero of the week. I forgot how to pronounce his last name, but Javier Milei. That's the guy that gave Elon Musk the big solid gold chainsaw for his work with Doge. That was hilarious. I loved seeing that, and I would really like a solid gold chainsaw right now. Or not now specifically, but anytime I could use a solid gold chainsaw. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway, here is him talking at the World Economic Forum. Enjoy.
Esto implicará que, si queremos salir de nuestro oscuro presente, debemos volver a inspirarnos en la filosofía griega, abrazar el derecho romano y retornar a los valores judeos-cristianos, los cuales nos permitirá salvar a Occidente.
And if you either don't speak Spanish or your phone's in your pocket and you're just listening to this or whatever, what he said was, therefore, this implies that if we want to escape our dark present, we must return to drawing inspiration from Greek philosophy, embrace Roman law, and return to Judeo-Christian values, which will enable us to save the West. Beautiful, poignant, right on the marker, concise, simple, beautiful. There were a lot of people talking like that at the recent World Economic Forum. Probably the most conservative Republican WEF that we've ever had. Absolutely incredible. He's not the only guy who was there doing it, but I think he said it in the simplest, most straightforward, best way. And for that, Javier Milei, if you'd like to come to California and share a beer with me, not the same beer, we'll get two, they're cheap, they're easy. But anyway, if you'd like to have a beer, come on down. Ice cold Coors Banquet, waiting for you here. Thank you very much, Javier. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. God bless you. God bless this big, beautiful rock we live on. And we'll see you next week.